Enough. If you're not up for it, step down.
We were at a crucial competition, which held the promotion of my respected boss at stake. But just when it mattered the most, the computer broke down. This presentation required a speech in English. Even if we all had the contents of the presentation in our minds, without a script, speaking English was a different story. While desperately trying to reboot the computer, my boss apologized.
I'm very sorry. Please give me a little more time.
However, the organizer, getting impatient, stood up from his seat.
I don't have time to waste on a company that can't even make a decent presentation.
My boss was dismayed. We couldn't let it end this way. Although I've always been seen as the unmotivated employee, I steeled myself for this crisis. I'll do it. I stepped up to the podium. The organizers looked at me with disbelief, but the moment I opened my mouth, I captured everyone's attention in the room. And that was the moment my stagnant life began to change dramatically. My peers were getting promoted one after another. Some have already promoted to the position of assistant manager. And while I'm genuinely happy for them, I can't say I feel envious. I knew there was a lot of talk behind my back about how I never take the promotion exams and how I continue to hold my current position without caring about what others think. Among them, there was no shortage of rumors from younger employees who didn't know me well, such as he stays a regular employee forever because he can't work, or maybe he lacks motivation. Although it's not pleasant, the fact that I continue to remain a rank-and-file employee is true. I pretended not to hear these rumors, and since correcting them was a hassle, I left them as they were. Even with all that, the company was meaningful to me. When it was time for staff changes, new members from another branch joined our workplace. Among them, the one who caught my eye was a woman named Emma. Emma, who transferred from a store in a neighboring region, was a woman of breathtaking beauty who did not look her age, and an excellent superior who served as a liaison for overseas clients. She treated all the other employees without discrimination. A perfect person with no flaws. She seemed to have been dispatched as a candidate for the manager of this branch. Apparently, she was assigned with a promotion in mind. One day, while checking documents, I found an error. The name and address of the hotel to be used for the tour couldn't be found on the website. Why isn't it listed on the company's server list? When I checked the website of the company that runs the hotel, I found out that they had just relocated to a different place a few days ago. Emma was the author of the proposal, so I lowered my voice and went to her with the documents. Emma, about this hotel here. After Emma blinked, she searched for the same page to confirm.
Thank you for pointing it out.
No problem. I'll update the company's list later.
I'd appreciate that. Now, what should we do about an alternative hotel? The relocation place is far. What about this one?
She opened up another hotel's website and showed it to me. As we both stared at the computer, something caught my eye, and I pointed at the section. This might not align with the tour's concept. It seems too luxury-oriented.
You're right about that. How about this one then?
If it's this hotel, they seem to have a discount campaign for 3 months. That could be good.
Indeed, good point again.
Emma paused mid-sentence and turned to me. She looked more surprised than before, tilting her head.
Leo, you were having a regular conversation with me just now, right?
Yes.
Were you able to follow my conversation?
Since I didn't remember us having a particularly difficult discussion, I nodded honestly. It was just a search for a hotel.
But all of it was on local websites, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
And yet, you were able to read and notice various things.
That's pretty normal considering our job. I had a hunch what Emma was getting at. Nowadays, not many people would praise someone excessively just for being able to read English websites fluently, especially when we work for a travel company. However, all the websites we were looking at just now were in French.
So, you can read French, Leo.
I just majored in it in college. I can read it, but it's not particularly impressive.
Really? I thought this website had quite a few difficult expressions to interpret.
But you can read it too, Emma. Anyway, what should we do about the revisions to the proposal? Should I handle them?
Would you mind doing that for me?
Understood. I said excuse me, bowing my head. I quickly returned to my desk. Emma seemed to want to say something, but another employee started talking to her, so she didn't pursue it any further. A few days later, my branch was chosen to participate in a competition. In this company, not only the executives at the headquarters can participate in competitions, but also the staff of the branches can bring their own proposals and engage in sales. Emma was chosen to launch a proposal on behalf of our branch. Needless to say, this would likely have a significant impact on her career advancement. I was also included in the proposal team, probably because my ability to read French to some extent was exposed during our exchange the other day. I couldn't imagine that I would be very useful. Requesting to be removed from the team would attract unwanted attention. Since this competition doesn't involve a tour of France, I didn't expect to be assigned any significant tasks. Resigned, I attended the internal meeting in preparation for the competition. One day, there was a business trip for the competition. Emma, who was still suspicious of me for some reason, insisted I accompany her. We reluctantly arrived at the waiting room of the company we were dealing with, where I ran into a familiar face in the lobby.
Isn't that Leo?
Aiden. The man dressed in a high-end suit was a senior colleague from a competitor company I used to work at. Aiden nodded cordially at Emma and me.
What a coincidence. Leo, you're in sales now.
Yes, good to see you're doing well.
Well, yeah, but it's been tough since you left. No, I'm not blaming you. You helped me a lot. Are you doing well in your new company?
Yes, thanks to you.
I see. If you ever have trouble, feel free to come back. Everyone would welcome you.
Thank you. I responded to Aiden's words with an inoffensive answer, being careful not to grimace.
Since you're here, is your company also participating in the MC group competition?
Yes.
I see. It's troublesome to have a strong competitor.
Aiden, who joked about it, was then called by the person in charge and left. Emma looked at me curiously as I relaxed my shoulders.
Was that man from the company you used to work for, Leo?
Yes, he was my senior.
I see. You were quite relied upon.
I suppose so. I ended up sounding a bit prickly and quickly clammed up. Emma seemed to be trying to decipher the meaning behind my words, but I continued to evade her inquiries. Our greeting to the clients that day ended on a positive note, and as soon as we returned to the office, Emma immersed herself in the work for the competition. Even though she is my superior, she is not much older than me. Yet she is entrusted with such big responsibilities and strives to meet expectations. I couldn't help but wonder at Emma's dedication. Of course, promotions come with higher pay and evaluations. However, she is already in a high-ranking position. I don't understand the merit of striving so hard. Whether it's a strong sense of responsibility or she simply enjoys it, it is beyond my comprehension. I have seen many times when other employees become engrossed in work to meet deadlines, but I couldn't help but wonder about what drives Emma, who already has popularity and wealth. Emma, I called out to Emma, who didn't stop working even past the end of the workday.
What's up?
It's past the end of the workday. She looks around in surprise. It seems she hadn't been paying attention at the time.
I didn't realize. Thank you. Are you going home, Leo?
Well, I have something I want to ask.
What do you want to ask?
I hope this isn't true, but how can you strive so much? I mean, you don't really have to participate in this competition, Emma. You have other work too. It's not like it's hard to get promoted without doing all this.
That's true.
Emma pulled up a chair from the adjacent desk. It seemed that she suggested that I sit. Once seated, she showed me her personal smartphone. Displayed on it were numerous photos of a little girl and what appeared to be her parents.
This is me.
Is that so?
My parents love to travel. They took me to many places. I also traveled with relatives, and when I became a student, with friends. Of course, I still travel a lot now. The memories of each trip are precious to me.
They all look fun.
Yes, traveling is very enjoyable. That's why I took this job, to make people's trips even more enjoyable than they expect. I strive not for promotions or evaluations, but to make travel more enjoyable.
For that reason.
Yes, of course, the position is important. After all, having authority makes it easier to get plans approved.
With a smile, Emma showed me the document she was working on. A large photo of a beautiful sea and a boat was prominently displayed.
Traveling should be enjoyed. Just imagining people having the time of their lives on my tours makes me happy. I get really absorbed in it.
Emma spoke with sparkling eyes, without showing a tired face. She was proud to be involved in this work. I also love traveling. I'm sure the guests will enjoy the tour you've planned this time.
Hearing that really motivates me.
Emma rolls up her sleeves and turns back to her computer. I'd like to help in any way I can. Upon saying this, I was shown the English manuscript for the competition.
Could we discuss how I might best convey my selling points?
Yes, indeed. Perhaps we should soften the expression here. It's understandable from a Spanish perspective, but it might be hard for foreigners to understand.
Do you think this would work? Should I change anything here?
That does seem better. And so, like the one who set out to unravel the mummy became a mummy himself, I ended up forgetting the time and staying late. For me, who had been trying not to overwork myself and just getting through my daily tasks, this might be the first time I have become so engrossed in my work. Needless to say, I was inspired by Emma, but it made me think that, rather than focusing on my abilities or evaluations, I could broaden my perspective and look beyond the work at hand. And so, the day of the competition finally arrived. We were the 5th out of 5 companies to present. Waiting for our turn only heightened the tension, yet Emma was calmly studying the other companies' presentations as she waited. I decided to follow her example and pay attention to the presentations. When it was finally Emma's turn, she climbed onto the conference room stage and set her laptop on the desk. As we waited for our company's logo to appear on the white screen, we finally noticed something was wrong when nothing showed up even after a minute had passed. On stage, Emma was visibly flustered, tapping on her laptop keyboard.
I apologize. Please give us a moment.
A senior employee went to check on Emma.
Emma, what's wrong?
The laptop isn't working. It was fine until just a few moments ago. I'm trying to reboot it now.
It's not working, is it?
Can someone get a backup laptop?
Having carried Emma's luggage, I hurriedly brought a backup laptop onto the stage. However, for some reason, it also wouldn't start. It had been confirmed to be charged beforehand. If it wasn't even turning on, it seemed unlikely that it was an issue with the signal. Maybe I should go back to the office to get. I blurted out in panic. I was swiftly shot down by a senior colleague, as it was obviously too late for that. But even that brief exchange felt like a waste of time. Emma preferred to store her script on her laptop rather than printing it out. Besides, even if she had printed it out, a tour presentation with nothing on the screen wouldn't communicate anything. Are you okay? A concerned moderator approached us. Our laptop isn't working well. While we were explaining, a seemingly important man in the front row, arms crossed, grumbled irritably.
Enough already. If you're not prepared, step down.
We're sorry, just a moment longer.
If the company can't even present properly, we have 4 other companies to choose from. We'll pick from them. Isn't that right, boss?
The man turned to the foreigner seated next to him, seemingly asking for agreement. The foreigner, who seemed to understand English, placed the documents he was holding onto the desk with a grimace. At that moment, I remembered Emma's efforts over the past few months. Her desire to entertain people with her tour. Her tireless planning. She had even gone on a fact-finding mission to improve the information in the documents right up until the last minute. It couldn't end here. I left the laptop to my senior colleague and Emma and took to the stage. The attendees were chatting and looking at their smartphones. Regardless, I took a deep breath. It's okay. The script Emma created is all in my head. Sorry for the delay. It seems our laptop got a bit nervous in front of you all. But don't worry, I can speak much better than it can. Please, imagine the first page of our document. At my first words, the man from before looked up, surprised. The boss, the other employees, all were looking at me. And as instructed, they turned their eyes to the document. It seemed my French was understood. Ladies and gentlemen, where would you like to go if you could travel anywhere? Of course, somewhere fun, right? At my next statement in French, a man at the edge couldn't help but speak up.
You can speak French?
To his question, I answered in French. Yes, albeit poorly. But I try my best. What do you think?
Perfect.
Good. Perhaps I should consider becoming a tour conductor as well as a planner.
That sounds wonderful.
Attendees who didn't understand French looked puzzled. I said, "Excuse me," in English before trying my recently learned Chinese. I had him grade my French. Seems like I've passed. Once I get a passing mark in Chinese, maybe next time I can do business for our Chinese clients too. The name tag of the person I made eye contact with was Chinese. As expected, he reacted to my Chinese. Emma and the others standing next to me couldn't see their reactions, but the employees of the other companies, including Aiden, were staring in awe. Maybe Aiden was surprised too because I couldn't speak Chinese when I was at the previous company. Well, let's put the chit-chat aside and start the presentation. I switched back to English and continued the presentation, occasionally throwing in a joke to wipe out the frustration of the participants from earlier. I visualized the materials, even showcasing trivia about the tourist spots in the photos. I finished at the scheduled time in bold. The moment I did, the participants clapped enthusiastically as if they had watched some kind of performance. I should have conveyed what needed to be conveyed. I left the rest to Emma and stepped down from the podium. The results of the competition would be reported later, but the president came to talk to me directly on the way back.
Your speech was very entertaining. We hope you can entertain many people in the tour we request.
He said in English, and I interpreted for several employees who couldn't understand. They were overjoyed, almost jumping. We managed to succeed, and when we returned to the office, Emma called me into the conference room.
Leo, I don't know how to thank you.
She looked quite down. Despite being fully prepared, the unexpected computer malfunction is undoubtedly a tough blow. It's only natural to cover for each other since we're teammates.
I'm really useless. I talk so big, but in the end, I had to rely on you, Leo.
It couldn't be helped since both computers were malfunctioning. They are still in bad shape. Even after we finished the competition and returned, both of Amy's laptop computers wouldn't turn on. They've been left with the IT department to investigate the cause.
I should have prepared more manuscript and slides. It's like a rookie mistake. But your quick thinking, Leo, was amazing. I can't believe you remembered the manuscript.
Since we created it together, I managed to.
It's not just that. You were so good at using different languages. You could even speak French.
Yes, I can.
I really relied on you for this competition, Leo. I need to be able to do more on my own from now on.
Emma laughed with a touch of self-deprecation. I felt something odd about her. Don't you mean to say, I look forward to continuing working with you?
What do you mean?
I'm not bragging, but if you can make good use of me, we might be able to win future competitions.
That's meaningless.
Emma stated it clearly.
If I don't win the competition with my own ability, how can I confidently provide tours? It's because it's my own achievement that I can be proud.
Her words struck me like a bolt of lightning. She's different from the employees and superiors I've dealt with so far. There's something I've been avoiding.
About why you're so proficient in languages.
Yes,
Are you going to tell me?
you're different from others, Emma. Because of my parents' jobs, I've been moving around different countries since I was a child. A lot of these were English-speaking countries, so both Spanish and English coexisted equally in my life. I was surprised when my parents' work settled down and we decided to settle in Spain. None of the kids my age could speak English properly. They were just barely getting by with reading and writing. I wondered why they couldn't do such simple things, but the young me didn't realize that it was due to the difference in upbringing, and I used English publicly as if it was the most normal thing. Textbooks at school felt like reading children's books. Of course, my classmates relied on me. They pestered me to show them my homework and asked for study tips before tests. As a child, I enjoyed sharing my knowledge and happily accepted their requests. And before I knew it, I had accepted being used by people. I began to question this during university. I was pushed into being the leader, creating the materials, and even presenting for a French group project that I had taken on ahead of others. When I asked, "Why do I have to do everything?" all my team members said in unison, "Because Leo, you can speak English." I thought English and French were different, but their perception was different. They believed that someone who could speak English was inherently linguistically gifted. Instead of working as a class and enhancing their linguistic skills, they chose the easy path in order to get good grades. And the results were treated as a collective effort of the entire team. And my achievements also belong to others. I'm being used effectively, I finally realized then. Yet, since it was just a student assignment and not a difficult task, I also thought that it was more efficient if I took charge. In such a state, I secured employment at a certain travel agency. By then, I was able to handle French as well. And as a trilingual speaker of Spanish, English, and French, I was highly valued. At first, I was genuinely pleased that I could utilize my skills and that I was entrusted with many tasks, but that didn't last long. It started about a year after joining the company. It was a business request from Aiden, my direct senior. He asked me to create a proposal in place of him because he was not good at English. Since I had been indebted to Aiden since I joined the company, I gladly accepted. Aiden was satisfied with the document and asked me to handle another task. Helping alongside my own work was quite challenging, and overtime work continued. Yet, the joy when the plan was accepted and actually adopted as a product was irreplaceable, and I worked without complaining. Things got worse a year later. I had become comfortable in my role and could see the whole company in perspective. Aiden was promoted to manager, and I was still working under him. When more work was thrown at me, I was taken aback when I looked at past proposals, which were approved as reference material. Only Aiden's name was listed on the report of a project in which I was involved for almost 90% of it. I heard that he didn't perform well until I joined the company. Doubting, I checked other reports and proposals, and my name was removed from the author's column, all replaced by Aiden. Aiden was the one who submitted the final version to the top, and indeed, he was the one responsible for the project. However, I prepared all the ideas, research, and proposals. Generally, Aiden couldn't even create English materials. When I wanted to ask Aiden what's going on, I looked for him, who was away from his desk. When I found him at the smoking area, he was in the middle of a conversation with the department head.
The tour in Paris you submitted this morning, wasn't it good?
The project the manager was talking about was also something I had created.
Yes, indeed. I happen to have a contact locally, and I ask various things.
Aiden's words were exactly the lines I had said. That tour was something I created by hearing various stories from a colleague of my father who took care of me when I was a child. Excuse me. Unable to stand it, I stepped forward. Aiden looked a bit flustered, but he quickly composed himself.
Leo, what's up? Are you here for a smoke too?
No. I have something I want to ask Aiden. That Paris floor plan you were talking about earlier, that's something I thought of, right?
I certainly got your help, Leo. I appreciate it.
It wasn't just help. I did more than that. However, the manager nodded deeply at Aiden's words.
It's thanks to Aiden's guidance.
Is that so? Please don't praise me too much. It might go to my head.
While the two were in a friendly conversation, I tried to intervene. Not just that, but also the previous Catalonia tour and the North American plan before that were projects I came up with, right?
That's not a good way to put it.
Suddenly, the manager scolded me.
Work is not something you do alone. You cooperate as a team and achieve results. I'm not impressed with those trying to monopolize credit.
I was dumbfounded at the manager's words. Was he saying such things without knowing anything? But Aiden was evaluated and promoted based on the merit of the projects, right?
Well, he's the one in charge. He's being evaluated as a manager who has rallied the team. Leo, you should learn from Aiden and not be self-centered.
I was silenced by his final words. No, I didn't want to say anything anymore. If these people were my superiors, no matter how hard I worked, I would just be used to their advantage. My accomplishments would just be absorbed into someone else's evaluation. My distrust for those who cling to my abilities and evaluators reached its peak. And within a month, I quit the company. Fortunately, thanks to my language skills, I was able to secure my next job right away. That's where I work now. There's no one here who steals my credit like they did. And for good reason. I didn't devote myself entirely to my work and hid my language skills as much as possible. If working hard will only become fodder for someone else's promotion, it's useless to make an effort. That's what I thought. Seeing Emma, I was reminded of how fulfilling it is to work hard and be recognized. I didn't want to do a job that entertains people at first. But somewhere along the line, I became overly concerned about evaluations.
That was the right decision, quitting that company.
Emma said a little angrily.
Of course, it's important to enjoy your work, but it's only natural to lose motivation if your efforts aren't properly recognized. That manager isn't doing a good job at evaluating.
But I'm also at fault. I wonder if things would have been different if I had better communication with them.
Well, then you should make use of that reflection here. No one here would try to take someone else's credit. As long as I'm here, I won't let that happen.
What reassuring words those were. I honestly enjoyed preparing for this competition. Seeing you working hard on what you want to do, it kind of draws me in.
If you can say that, then there's nothing happier for me as a boss. Leo, from now on, you don't need to hide your feelings. Don't hold back and do what you want to.
At that moment, Emma's smartphone rang.
Excuse me for a moment.
She apologized and pulled her smartphone out of her pocket.
Thank you for calling. This is Emma from Top Tours. Yes, Ed, really, yes. I'll be right there.
After hanging up, Emma grabbed my arm and left the conference room. What happened?
We found out what caused the problem with the computer. We're going back to the competition venue.
Was the problem at the venue?
More like with the participants.
On the way, I heard the details and couldn't believe my ears. It seemed that the culprit who caused the problem with Emma's computer was Aiden. After presenting just before us, he had planted a magnet powerful enough to damage electronics under the desk. Apparently, an employee of the MC group found him trying to secretly retrieve it on his way out. When Emma and I arrived, the scene in the conference room had completely changed. A downcast Aiden and a familiar ex-boss from my previous company, along with the MC group members, were present. The person in charge approached us and explained the situation. Aiden, who was caught on the spot, was questioned by the people around him and confessed that he had interfered with us. The boss was then called in, explained the situation again, and here we were. Miss Emma has arrived. The person in charge led us to Aiden and his group.
Is it true? It's all Leo's fault.
The once meek demeanor was gone. He pointed his finger at me and yelled,
Because of this guy's betrayal and leaving the company, my work efficiency declined, and our performance has been sluggish. You have no idea how much trouble it caused us when you just left. We could have won this competition if you hadn't been here. You sabotaged it because you feared Leo's talent.
Emma stared at Aiden with a furious tone I had never heard before.
Does it make you happy to trample on other people's efforts? I wonder if you don't think anything of it because you've been doing it for so long. What do you know about me? At least I know that you can't do anything without Leo, who claimed his achievements as their own and then betrayed him. Leo was working under my instructions, claiming as my own. Isn't this very act the biggest proof?
Emma handed a business card to Aiden's boss.
I am like this. I expect we will be involved in a lawsuit in the future, so I look forward to working with you.
Lawsuit?
Well, business obstruction, damage to property. Isn't it natural to file a lawsuit?
They couldn't argue against such a reasonable claim. In the end, it led to a civil lawsuit, and Aiden was dismissed for violating various behavioral norms. Being in the middle of a lawsuit, he didn't seem to be thinking about finding a new job. Even after the lawsuit, it didn't seem likely that he would easily return to society. As expected, I heard through the grapevine that Aiden was now living a modest life in debt. On the other hand, after the success in the competition, Emma's promotion was finalized, taking into account her previous achievements. Amazingly, my significant contribution was recognized, and my promotion was decided. Of course, my language skills also came to light, and both of us were assigned to work overseas.
We'll make great progress with local interviews,
Emma happily said. Now, we are living together at our new posting. While I respected Emma for significantly changing my life, I found myself also caring for her as an individual. Apparently, she was drawn to my perseverance. I used to think effort was of no benefit to myself, but there were people who properly appreciated me. I regretted not opening my heart sooner without prejudice, but without the right opportunity, I lacked the courage. From now on, I will trust people more and strive to fairly evaluate my subordinates. I believe that in this company, things will work out well.